fucked if she gets cast in almost anything. Nobody will want to cast her. And
hey, girl. Down on your luck.
2.3 million dislikes. Imagine having that much of a dedicated hater base. That's insane. Why I think that no other studio will ever work with her again.
What if Disney's biggest fairy tale remake wasn't just delayed, it was buried for good because of one actress? Rachel Zegler, the star of Disney's Snow White, was supposed to be the face of a new era. But after a string of controversies capped by a chaotic meltdown in London's Evita production, Disney went silent. No trailers, no posters, no release date, just whispers of a cancellation that's rocking Hollywood. So, what really happened? Let's dive into the drama, the rumors, and what's next for a star who went from Spielberg's darling to a studio's worst nightmare.
And it's lonely. It's very lonely. I just know that if that loneliness can exist, so can other things, and I will be okay. Maybe that's a weird takeaway. Regardless, this is not supposed to be anything other than insightful entertainment. It's what I do best. Just know that I am the most grateful person alive.
This wasn't just any movie. Disney's Snow White remake was hyped as a flagship for Disney, a bold reimagining of the 1937 classic that launched the studio's animation legacy. For years, executives teased a modern fairy tale with stunning visuals, a diverse cast, and a fresh take on a beloved princess. Rachel Zegler, fresh off her Golden Globe win for West Side Story, was cast as Snow White, positioned as the perfect Gen Z star to carry the torch. Fans were buzzing, expecting magic and nostalgia wrapped in a shiny new package. But as the planned release date loomed, the excitement fizzled into confusion. No teaser dropped, no red carpet premiere was announced, no countdown posts lit up Disney's socials. The film didn't just slip under the radar, it vanished.
Fans are growing more concerned about Disney's new Snow White remake, mostly because of what the lead actress has been saying to the press. Rachel Zegler has been described as a walking PR disaster for Disney's. We've heard her bag the classic story before, but there's more.
Ex-users started asking, where's Snow White? Reddit threads speculated about delays, but insiders hinted at something darker. This wasn't a postponement, it was a quiet cancellation. And the name at the center of it all? Rachel Zegler. But the real question isn't just why Disney pulled the plug, it's what pushed them to bury a multi-million-dollar project without a word. The trouble started long before the release date passed. When Disney first unveiled plans for the Snow White remake, they promised a story that honored the original while reflecting modern values. Zegler was front and center.
In case you were wondering, no, that has absolutely nothing to do with the new Snow White movie that Rachel Zegler has been cast for, the one that she's been hating on online for the past couple of months that people have been talking about. This is just a huge attempt by her PR team to make her seem like she's apologetic and the things that she's said about the upcoming film coming out. Don't believe it.
Giving interviews about how the Snow White wouldn't be a damsel waiting for a prince. She called the 1937 film weird and dated, laughing off the prince as a stalker and saying the new version would focus on Snow White's leadership. Fans didn't take it well. For millions, the original Snow White wasn't just a cartoon, it was a cultural touchstone, a piece of childhood magic. Zegler's comments felt like a slap, dismissing decades of love with a smirk. Clips from her press junkets went viral on X, but not for the right reasons. Her tone, sarcastic, sometimes flippant, struck viewers as ungrateful. She's mocking a classic, one user posted, racking up thousands of likes. Disney picked the wrong princess. The backlash wasn't just loud, it was relentless. Hashtags like #NotMySnowWhite trended, and YouTube reaction videos tore into her quotes. Disney's PR team scrambled, but the damage was done. Zegler wasn't just alienating fans, she was turning Snow White into a lightning rod. And that was only the beginning of the storm.
I'm a narcissist. And then it became like, I will elbow everyone out of the way to play the part. That people will assume is a love story just because like we cast a guy in the movie, Andrew Burnap. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut, who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
If the interview sparked the fire, Zegler's red carpet appearances poured fuel on it. At early promotional events, she doubled down on her views, calling the original film's romance creepy and emphasizing that her Snow White didn't need saving. The delivery didn't help. Clips showed her rolling her eyes, shrugging off questions about the classic, and coming off as above the Disney legacy. Once hailed as Spielberg's breakout star, Zegler now seemed distant, even arrogant. Ex-users called her entitled, with one viral thread reading, "Rachel Zegler acts like she's bigger than Disney. Big mistake." Even fans who initially supported her started pulling back. A YouTube comment under a Snow White teaser summed it up. "I wanted to root for her, but she's making it hard." Behind the scenes, things were no better. Reports from earlier projects painted Zegler as difficult to work with, hyper-controlling, clashing with directors, and quick to challenge creative decisions.
The cartoon was made 85 years ago, and therefore it's extremely dated when it comes to the ideas of women being in roles of power and what a woman is fit for in the world. And so when we came to reimagining the actual role of Snow White, it became about the fairest of them all, meaning who is the most just and who can become a fantastic leader. And the reality is, Snow White has to learn a lot of lessons about coming into her own power before she can come into power over a king.
Disney hoped a slick PR campaign could salvage her image and the film. They pushed out glossy behind-the-scenes photos and upbeat cast interviews, but the internet wasn't buying it. The controversy didn't fade, it grew. And just when Disney thought they'd weathered the worst, a new disaster was brewing, one that would make Snow White's cancellation all but inevitable. Across the Atlantic, Zegler was gearing up for her starring role in Evita on London's West End. The stage production was supposed to be her redemption arc, a chance to step away from the Snow White drama and prove she could command a live audience with grace and discipline. Evita was a big deal, a high-profile show with a passionate fanbase and intense scrutiny. Zegler's casting as Eva Perón raised eyebrows, but many hoped she'd rise to the occasion. Instead, reports suggest the production turned into a catastrophe. Whispers of chaos started leaking within weeks of rehearsals. Insiders claim Zegler clashed with the crew, refusing to rehearse scenes unless the creative direction matched her vision.
I never wanted to come off as me being ungrateful for the opportunities I have when I say that this has been the biggest adjustment of my life. Like understanding the way my life operates now, being who I am, and the things that I've been so fortunate to make. It comes with so much ground that I never thought I would be able to cover, and that people think I'm doing poorly and other people think I'm doing gracefully, and I don't think I'm doing it at all.
One source alleged she snapped at a lighting operator for missing a cue, creating tension on set. Another said cast members walked out, fed up with what they called a hostile environment. These are just rumors, nobody's confirmed the full story, but the leaks kept coming. Anonymous testimonials from staff described Zegler's presence as unsustainable. One alleged email, shared on Reddit, called the rehearsals a nightmare, hinting that her behavior was driving professionals away. X erupted with speculation, with users joking, Rachel Zegler turned Evita into her own personal soap opera. The headlines weren't kind either, painting her as an actress spiraling out of control. For Disney, watching from afar, this wasn't just bad press, it was a breaking point. But what happened next would seal Snow White's fate. Disney executives didn't sit idly by as the Evita drama unfolded. Reports say they called an emergency meeting as Zegler's name trended for all the wrong reasons.
Jonah Platt, whose father helped produce the latest Snow White film, had some very harsh words for star Rachel Zegler.
For context, Variety wrote a report recently titled "Inside Disney's Snow White Fiasco: Death Threats, Beefed Up Security, and a Social Media Guru."
And a lot of what you see with Zegler is really just this pretty common Gen Z mentality and approach to work.
The agenda wasn't about fixing the film's editing or tweaking the score. It was about whether Snow White could even be released. Insiders claim the studio saw Zegler as a ticking PR grenade. Every interview she gave turned into a meme, every ex-post about her sparked outrage. One source alleged Disney quietly scrubbed Snow White from their internal release calendar, replacing it with a cryptic note, "Hold indefinitely pending talent resolution." In plain English, they weren't touching the film until Zegler stopped being a liability. Marketing teams were told to pivot, hyping safer projects like Mufasa, The Lion King, or Moana 2. Staff were instructed to dodge questions about Snow White, redirecting attention to anything else. No press release announced a delay, no social post hinted at a new date, just silence. And that silence was deliberate. Disney wasn't just pausing a movie, they were distancing themselves from a star whose every move seemed to court disaster. But the decision wasn't just about Zegler, it was about protecting a brand already on shaky ground. Disney's been fighting an uphill battle for years, and Snow White was supposed to be a win. The companies faced one crisis after another: subscriber losses on Disney, brutal stock drops, and endless online debates about woke casting and storytelling. The Snow White remake was pitched as a safe bet, a nostalgic fairy tale to bring fans back to the magic. Instead, it became a minefield. Zegler's casting sparked backlash from purists who wanted a traditional Snow White. The rewritten plot, ditching the prince and reimagining the dwarves, drew accusations of pandering. And Zegler's comments, especially her now infamous line about the prince being a stalker, turned the film into a culture war flashpoint. Ex-users called it Disney's wokest flop yet, while YouTube videos racked up millions of views slamming the remake's direction. Then came Evita, a reported $50 million lawsuit against Zegler's agent, and her cryptic social media posts hinting at feuds. The film wasn't just risky, it was toxic. Insiders say execs started asking, if we release this, are we torching our brand? Marketing teams warned that platforming Zegler now would shift focus from the movie to her drama. Headlines like Disney doubles down on controversial star or Snow White released despite allegations would dominate, drowning out any chance of positive buzz. So, Disney chose the nuclear option. They locked the film away and hoped the world would forget. But fans? They're not letting it go. When Snow White's release date passed with no word, the internet went wild. Reddit threads exploded with theories, some calling the film cursed, others dubbing it in PR jail. TikTok creators stitched together clips of Zegler's interviews with Evita rumors, asking, did Disney just cancel Snow White? X was a war zone. One post went viral, captioned, Disney saw Zegler's Evita meltdown and said, we're out. It racked up thousands of retweets, with users piling on. She tanked a whole movie, one wrote. Good riddance. A YouTube comment under an old Snow White teaser hit hard. This aged like spoiled yogurt. Where's the film? Oh, right, scrapped. But not everyone was cheering. Some fans accused Disney of cowardice, arguing the studio caved to toxic internet mobs. A TikTok video with thousands of likes claimed Disney should have backed Zegler, not abandoned her. Others pointed fingers at the studio's casting process, asking why they didn't vet her better. The split was clear. Some saw Zegler as a diva who deserved the fallout. Others saw Disney as spineless for not defending their star. But the loudest question echoed across platforms: why won't Disney just come clean? The silence was deafening, and it was fueling a firestorm of speculation. And that firestorm was about to turn its focus to Zegler's future. Rachel Zegler was supposed to be Hollywood's golden girl, a YouTube singer turned Spielberg protege. She was winning awards before her first film hit theaters. West Side Story made her a star, and Snow White was meant to make her a legend. Now, she's a cautionary tale. Casting directors are reportedly striking her name from shortlists. One streaming platform allegedly dropped her from a lead role after the Evita drama went viral. Another project she was attached to? On hold indefinitely, according to insiders. Even brand deals, those lucrative red carpet contracts for fashion houses or magazine covers, are vanishing. Zegler's not just polarizing, she's unpredictable. She's clashed with too many, accused too often, doubled down too hard. In Hollywood, that's not drama, it's a career killer. Ex-users are ruthless, with one thread reading, Rachel Zegler burned every bridge and wonders why no one's calling. Fans who once defended her are turning away. A comment on her old Snow White interview sums it up. I tried to stan, but she made it impossible. So, can she bounce back? Hollywood loves a redemption arc, but it takes silence, accountability, and humility. Three things Zegler hasn't offered. Instead, she's filed lawsuits, posted vague X updates, and watched her opportunities slip away. The scariest part? No one's rushing to save her. No A-list directors vouching for her. No studios announcing a big new role. In Hollywood, silence is lethal, and Zegler's hearing it loud and clear. But what about the film she left behind? Snow White's fate is the biggest mystery of all. Disney's sitting on a finished movie, millions spent, years in the making, that they can't or won't release. Insiders whisper the studio's weighing drastic options: re-editing the film to minimize Zegler's role, recasting entirely, or shelving it permanently. One alleged memo, leaked on Reddit, called the project unsalvageable and urged teams to redirect resources to lower-risk titles. Another source claimed Disney's revising contracts for future projects, adding stricter conduct clauses, a clear sign Zegler's spiral has spooked the brass. The financial hit is real. Snow White wasn't cheap, and burying it means eating millions in losses. But the reputational risk might be worse. Releasing it now could spark a new wave of backlash, with ex-users ready to pounce. Disney's Snow White, more drama than magic, one headline might read. The studio's in a no-win spot. Drop the film and face questions about wasting money, or release it and risk a PR nightmare. Some fans hope for a compromise, maybe a limited release, or a version that shifts focus to the ensemble. But for now, the film's in limbo, a fairy tale without an ending. And that brings us to the bigger question. What does this saga say about Disney, Zegler, and the industry they're both fighting to survive in? This isn't just about one movie or one actress. It's about a studio at a crossroads and a star who fell too fast. Disney's silence on Snow White speaks volumes. They're not just dodging Zegler's drama. They're trying to save a brand battered by years of missteps. Zegler, meanwhile, is a case study in what happens when talent outpaces tact. Her rise was meteoric, but her fall was faster. From YouTube covers to red carpets, she was the Cinderella story Hollywood loves to sell. Now, she's the villain in her own narrative, at least in the eyes of many. Ex-users are already writing her obituary, with one post joking, "Rachel Zegler went from princess to trivia question in record time. But is it really over?" Comebacks happen. Robert Downey Jr. clawed his way back from scandal, so did others. The catch? It takes owning mistakes, mending fences, and staying out of the spotlight. Zegler's done none of that. Her lawsuits and cryptic posts suggest she's still fighting, but fighting who? The fans? The studios? Herself? The saddest part is the potential she squandered. She had the voice, the charisma, the stage. Now, she's got silence, and in Hollywood, that's the loudest sound of all. So, what's next? For Disney, it's a chance to regroup. They'll push other projects, hoping Mufasa or Moana 2 can win back the fans Snow White lost. They might even revisit the remake years from now, when the dust settles. For Zegler, the path is murkier. Some insiders think she'll try a tell-all interview, a bid to reframe her story as a misunderstood artist. Others bet she'll pivot to smaller gigs, indie films, theater, maybe streaming specials, where the stakes are lower. But none of it works unless she faces the truth. She's not losing roles because of trolls or gossip. She's losing them because trust is gone. Fans don't trust her to honor the stories they love. Studios don't trust her to play ball. And the public? They're watching her fall, and many aren't rooting for a comeback. This saga, Disney's gamble, Zegler's spiral, a fairy tale erased, is a reminder that in Hollywood, every choice is a spotlight, every misstep a story. So, let's hear from you. Is Disney right to bury Snow White? Can Zegler rewrite her ending, or is the curtain down? Drop your thoughts below, and let's keep digging into the drama that's got the whole internet buzzing.